Do Republicans think Americans are dummies? Just check out the latest fundraising email from the Republican National Committee sent out by Congressman Paul Ryan. It reads, quote, "The safety net for the poor is coming apart at the seams, and no one in Washington seems to care." Are you kidding me? Paul Ryan suddenly cares about our safety net? Ryan cares about the poor. The same wrong way Ryan who pitched a budget that would essentially end Medicare. The same Paul Ryan who leads the cut, cut, cut chant.
Of course we have to cut spending.
Significant cuts in spending and changes to the way we spend the American people's money.
Significant cuts in Washington spending.
We need real spending cuts.
Cut, cut, cut down. That's the Paul Ryan I know. A new report out today says those spending cuts probably eliminated more than 370,000 jobs. Maybe that's why I find his concern for the poor so unconvincing. This week, we saw the president out promoting plans that help America's students.
I want us to win the future. So that means we should be doing everything we can to put a college education within reach for every American. That has never been more important.
You hear that? A college education has never been more important. But for the second day in a row, Paul Ryan's party has slammed the president's initiative to help students.
I think that it was unwise for the president to make the suggestion that he did. I believe it's abuse of power from the executive.
A Ponzi scheme, even by Governor Perry standards.
A plan to help our nation's students is a Ponzi scheme? Mr. Ryan, we see right through your party. The only scheme is the one you're trying to pull off on the American people. Joining me now is Bob Shrum, a Democratic strategist and NYU professor, and Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Committee and MSNBC analyst. Thank you both for coming on the show tonight. Bob, let me start with you. What do you make of Ryan's fundraising pitch, a sudden concern for the safety net?
Well, listen, on the Revometer, it's a full Blagojevich, because the Ryan plan and Republicans have voted on it repeatedly would, as you said, shred the social safety net. You mentioned Medicare. I mean, it would voucherize Medicare, and it would cost the average senior $6,000 more a year, all to give more tax cuts to people at the top. Now, the Republican argument here is that those tax cuts somehow or other help because you don't want higher taxes on job creators. Well, you know, under Bill Clinton, we had a higher tax rate on people at the very top, and we created 22 million new jobs. Under George Bush, we lowered those tax rates, and in 8 years, we created not one net new job. So I think what's going on here is they just want cover for the kind of supply-side economics, which is, by the way, the real Ponzi scheme. These tax cuts for the wealthy never pay for themselves. They leave a huge gap. In fact, today's deficit is much more the fault of what President Bush did in terms of the tax cuts and the downturn than it is anything President Obama has done.
Well, Michael,
so,
let's look at
let's
don't take
it seriously.
Facts. Let's look at the facts, Michael.
Okay, yeah.
Under Bill Clinton, who did not have these cut the taxes for the rich, we created 23.1 million jobs. We did the tax cuts to the rich under George Bush, and there was only 3 million jobs. We can have different opinions, Michael, but we can't have different facts. Those are the facts.
Yeah, but you know, again, you're skewing the facts to make your point, and you're not taking into consideration that, there were tax cuts under Clinton, but you know what the difference is between the Bush era and the Clinton era? Spending. The spending was not nowhere near what it is today, starting in the Bush era and continuing through the Obama era. So when you cut taxes and you continue to spend, that gap that you have there is the deficit. It is the current pressure that we have on our economy that goes back to the Reagan days, even under Reagan, when he cut the taxes but continued to spend. That accelerated the deficit. So you've got to put it all in the proper context.
Spend if they don't have money.
Wait a minute, come on. Okay, Al, economics 101. I
Right.
mean, if I don't take more, if I take less from you, you have more to spend. That's how that works.
Well, you took less from the rich, and we produce less jobs. When you produce less jobs, there are less people with money to spend.
But wait a minute,
Economics 101, Michael.
All of that goes to the spending that created the bubble that we're currently in, from housing and all the other impacts on the economy. You just can't isolate one aspect of this thing and say, well, this is the sole cause
No, I
of
was
this.
addressing
As
what you
every
said, but
economist,
Bob,
the CBO and everyone else has said, this has been a cumulative effort.
Spending didn't cause the bubble. I mean,
yes, all of that,
Bob.
all of that spending. Where did the money come from? FHA and the housing folks to put into the economy. The Congress kept writing the check. Of course, there was spending. Al, come on, man.
Come on. The FHA didn't do this. In fact, the CBO shows the single biggest contributors to the deficit are, number one, the Bush tax cuts,
right,
and number two, two wars that were off budget and that are going to ultimately cost several $1 trillion.
Spending.
The fact of the matter, Michael, is you just conceded something very important when you gave your first answer. You conceded that we had all of this job creation under the Clinton administration with higher marginal tax rates on the wealthy, which is what the president's asking for. And by the way, Reverend, you can only give Bush credit for 3 million new jobs if you don't count all the jobs that were lost because of the Bush economic collapse.
I'm not conceding a thing here. All I'm saying is you got to look at the whole picture.
Though. You already did.
With a Republican Congress and Newt Gingrich in the House and Clinton in the White House, they cut the spending in the government to allow that
the spending kept going up, but there were higher marginal tax rates. The president increased tax rates in 1994. Yes,
excuse me.
They were, Michael, they were higher than today.
Whoa. Let Michael try to walk this back, because
I'm not walking anything back. I'm not walking. Look, you guys can live in your little fairy tale land about the economy. The fact is, if you continue to spend the way we're spending, you're going to have the continued problems that we're having. That's going to affect the poor. That's going to affect the middle class. That's going to affect job growth. That's the fact.
All right. Well,
let
me show you why there is the problem with the class warfare argument. And when you made the statement that you made, a lot of that spending were on wars that weren't necessary, that the Republicans brought us in. But of course it's still spending. But let's talk about it wasn't spent on the safety net for poor people. But let's go to look at this fact, Michael. Another fact. Since 1979, the CBO came out with this Congressional Budget Office. Since 1979, this is what has happened in this country. The household income of the top 1% has gone up 275%. Middle-class Americans have only seen their income rise 40%. The bottom 20% have only seen an 18% jump. When you see this kind of economic disparity, there's real economic warfare, real class warfare, and the rich are overwhelmingly winning. Don't you understand why people are upset?
Totally. Absolutely understand it, Al, but I'd also like to see, as you put those numbers up there, and I'd agree with that, with what those numbers say, but I'd also like to look at how many of those who were part of each of those respective classes moved up in that same period of time since 1973. Those who were middle class, who moved into the upper middle class, into that top 1%. The problem that we have here is that we're not talking about, no one's talking about creating an avenue for people to move from poverty to wealth.
You think a lot of middle class people moved into the top 1%?
Al, you know people who were middle class one day and over the next 10, 15 years moved into a higher income bracket.
I don't know a lot of people that moved in the top 1% from the middle class.
Including yourself.
I am not in the top 1%. Do you know what the top 1% is?
Please, brother, come on, man.
To make more money. Wait a minute, Michael. You can't do that. Michael, calm down. You're going to have a long weekend to relax. The top 1% is not inundated with a lot of people from the middle class.
It's not static. It's not a set number of people. You don't get an admission card.
Wait a minute. Look, factually, Michael is just wrong on issue after issue.
There's no doubt.
All of the statistics show that social mobility in this country is way down. Just a few minutes ago, he said the marginal top tax rate was the same under Clinton that it was under Bush. It certainly was not. That was what the Bush tax cut was about. Finally, the spending here is not spending that helps people in need. It's spending on 2 wars, one of which we were lied into, and which President Bush refused to pay for. And there were Republican Congresses for much of that period.
1973. That's what I'm talking about. I want to talk about.
There's less social mobility than there used to be in this country. There's a wider gap.
Today, I agree with that. But the point is that has not always been the case. And when you're looking at, if you're showing
and then we got Republican economic policies and it became the case.
Let's deal with the fact that the person who was middle class in 1973 may or may not be middle class today. They may have moved up, and that's all I'm
Let me ask you this. They may or may not be millionaires, but they're not in the top 1%, Michael. Let's be serious.
How do you know?
Well, okay.
How do you know?
Fine. I'm sure there's not a great
There's not a great
social
circles you run in. You know nobody who's moved into the top 1%.
You and I both know that that's not true. But anyway, let me ask you this. How do we solve
Ignore
it?
the facts.
How do we solve it? How do we solve it and not be fair by not taxing millionaires? There's no sacrifice. Millionaires ought to be glad they can prosper in this country and pay their fair share.
It's not just about taxing, and that's been the central thing that the Republicans have been trying to focus on. We've always led with taxing first. We always want to raise the tax on anybody. I don't care if it's middle class or the rich. We're looking at a more comprehensive policy where we're talking about moving people from poverty into wealth. We're trying to create a pathway so people can access the entrepreneurial spirit. Those are the types of investments we need to make. Let's invest in small businesses.
By taking away some of the safety net that middle class
we're not taking away safety nets. We're trying to strengthen those safety nets so you bounce off of them and not get trapped by them.
Michael, we're going to try and deal with taking away some aspects of Medicare and Medicaid. And
Al, you act like these systems are immutable. They're not.
I'm going to make the point whether you want me to or not. I'm going to make it anyway. We're going to take all of that away because that's going to help them do better.
No one's saying that.
What are you saying?
No one's saying that.
You're saying don't tax the rich.
We're saying let's reform these systems. We're not saying to do away with it. Let's reform them so that they're there for the people who absolutely need to use them.
No, they ought to be there. Wait a minute.
Bob,
Social Security ought to be there for everybody, not just for a few.
And no Republican is saying it shouldn't
be.
And
Medicare ought to be there for everybody.
And no Republican is saying it shouldn't be. What we're saying is what we have now is a broken system.
Wait a minute.
Let's fix it.
Keep your story straight. You said reform it.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to go. We're saying to reform Medicaid, reform Medicare, reform Social Security, but don't reform rich people having to pay their fair share.
All a part
Let's
of it.
not touch them because by some magic, the middle class will just rise up and become billionaires.
I'm in church.
Bob Shrum and Michael Steele, thank you for your time this evening and enjoy your weekend. Michael, you knocked it out of the park tonight.
Thanks, Reverend. See you, Michael.
See you guys. Take care, Bob.